Well, welcome to another episode of the Prosper and Beauty Show with Eden Croft. I am Eden, and I'm here to talk to you today about creating products for people with scalp issues, scalp conditions. So think of things like alopecia, think of psoriasis, think of eczema, think of dandruff. But anything where the scalp is irritated or it's creating hair loss or there's inflammation. I have a whole host of herbs that I want to share with you today that help you create superior products that actually are really healing for those conditions. All right? So one of the first things I want to talk to you about is nettle. And nettle grows wild in a lot of places in the United States, probably in Europe too. It is really very high in minerals and in iron, and it has a very interesting effect on the scalp and on skin. It's really used for a lot of healing things, which is kind of ironic because the fresh nettle, is called stinging nettle because, it stings. But once it's dried and like this, you see I can touch it and it's not stinging at all. And then you can really access all its medicinal qualities. Another herb you'll want to add to your creations is rosemary. And this is what the fresh rosemary herb looks like, and this is what the dried looks like. I have a whole YouTube video on rosemary. It does a lot of different things, but that is really great for balancing the scalp and will really help with alopecia as well, with kind of helping to grow the hair. Calendula. I have a whole YouTube video on calendula as well. This is really soothing, really anti-inflammatory, will really kind of help to quiet down all the, things that people experience. You can see some fresh calendula here. Sometimes it's a little bit orange, sometimes it's a little bit yellow, but very anti-inflammatory, very healing. And while we're at it, let's look at some chamomile flowers. See, these little white with yellow in the middle. Those are so healing, very calming, very anti-inflammatory. I'm sure you've heard of drinking chamomile tea to calm you down when you're feeling antsy, or if you need to kind of zone in when you're trying to go to sleep. But it has that same effect on any sort of inflammatory condition topically. So eczema, psoriasis, it'll really help to calm that down. And calendula and chamomile are also very safe even for infants. So that's something to think about if you have an infant who has a problem skin. Another thing that is really gentle enough for infants is lavender flower. Okay, I don't know why I didn't bring the dried herb for you to see, but this is what the fresh flower looks like. And the buds, I have a whole periscope on just lavender. But lavender is really regenerative. It's very soothing, very anti-inflammatory. It's gentle enough for babies. There's an interesting story actually about lavender. I think René Maurice Gattefossé, he is considered the father of modern day aromatherapy. And so he was working in his lab, and somehow his arm caught on fire, and he just dunked it into the nearest thing he could see, which was this big vat of, lavender oil, and he just put his arm in like that. And within weeks, his arm had healed from what would have been a really serious burn. And so that intrigued him. He was in his lab studying something else. So that intrigued him enough to start studying the properties of lavender oil. And that's how modern day aromatherapy as we know it sort of began. Began receiving scientific attention, whereas before it was more just folklore. Okay, so those herbs, that collection of herbs is a great way to start. Plantain is another one that's great for problem skin as well that I didn't mention. So you want to look at those sort of anything that's sort of anti-inflammatory, that's gentle, and that's easy to extract. And if you want to learn about how to make the extracts, opt in for the workshop below. It's totally free. You'll learn how to make extracts for all your wonderful problem scalp concoctions. A lot of these can be used for problem skin as well. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next video.